Okay, so tonight we're talking about cooking with essential oils. Oh my gosh, too often cooking can feel like a chore, right? But in the right circumstances, it can be so much more than that. And when it's meaningful, cooking a meal is more like creating an experience and it brings people together, right? So essential oils offer a world of flavors to help make food feel even more magical. I've been cooking with essential oils now for about 8 years, and I am not a recipe follower. I just play with oils. But I am going to share some recipes toward the end of this class. But first, let's talk about why you might want to cook with essential oils. Okay. So, one of the greatest benefits of oils is their wide range of uses. And with so many natural products with unique benefits, you can incorporate them into nearly every area of your daily routine and lifestyle, including cooking. So, for for starters, they offer a lot of added flavor. They're naturally potent and powerful because they're highly concentrated and they're taken directly from natural sources. So the purity and potence of them makes them perfect for adding flavor to any dish. And it really doesn't take much to add an extra kick to your favorite beverages, desserts, meats, side dishes, anything. In fact, I've got a friend who's a chef and she calls them flavor bombs. And Gail is here with us tonight and she actually she knows a lot of chefs and I'm going to have her speak actually, you know what, Gail, now would be a great time if you want to share some of the work that you've done with some leading chefs in the country, introducing them to essential oils. Oh, you're going to have to unmute.
Okay, so I did post tonight with your meeting and all, one of the testimonials from a master chef who I was working with the Italian cuisine blend. And he's tried it out first. One way is just the way he normally does his sauces and put the flavoring in before. Then he didn't see much difference. Then he changed it and added the tiny couple drops to a pint of his tomato sauce. And he said it's better than he's ever made. So I posted that testimonial tonight. I have another chef that I sent the package to of not only just the cuisine cooking collection, but also the basil, the thyme, oregano, lemongrass, and the smaller sample bottles. And they're opening the restaurant he's worked, they're building a new restaurant for him to open. But he is like over the top with experimenting with it because it is a new science to many of this. The culinary field doesn't know about this, nor the intensity of them.
Right.
So he's thrilled. He's tomorrow I'm emailing him to introduce him to, he can get a wholesale account for I think they own 4 or 5 restaurants.
That's so great. I love it. And, I'm glad that he's experimenting with it. Once I ruined an entire huge batch of homemade spaghetti sauce because I added 2 drops of oregano oil and it was too potent. It's so strong. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how much to add, what kinds of things you can use, what kinds of oils are good for cooking with. So I love hearing that a master chef made the best batch of sauce that he had ever tasted because he added a couple of drops of the Italian cuisine blend. That's just such an amazing.
And he's now experimenting on the Thai flavor, the Thai seasoning. So that should be interesting.
Yay! Thanks, Gail. I love it. That's so exciting. One of my friends, she actually, the one that I was telling you about earlier that calls them flavor bombs, she actually wrote a cookbook based on essential oils. Actually, Gail has met her. And, so they added so much flavor, but they also provide internal benefits at the same time. And, frequently used for their internal benefits, oils provide a straightforward way to promote wellness in the body. And so depending on what you're making, you can use essential oils in your cooking to promote healthy digestion, to cleanse the body, to support healthy function of body systems and provide the body with antioxidants, in addition to just being powerful flavors. So I mean, you're boosting your health at the same time you're boosting the flavor. Essential oils have safe, natural ingredients. And, while plenty of spices, seasonings, and extracts are available at stores, markets, the grocery store, and they can help flavor your food. Honestly, many of these options contain highly processed and even questionable ingredients. I don't know how many of you saw that McCormick's had to do a big recall because of lead in many of their spices. McCormick's, right? Now, how many other spice brands are out there? If we can't trust McCormick's, what can we trust, right? I also was reading about arsenic and lead being found in a whole bunch of different spices that are imported to like Asian grocery stores. And, I love to cook curry. I love to cook, Chinese cuisine, but those things are often not, subject to the rigorous testing. They're just imported and we don't really have any idea what's inside them. The other thing too is having essential oils on hand makes it really easy when you just used your last lemon. Guess what? You've got a bottle of 250 drops of lemon oil that is readily available for you to use anytime. If you didn't have to run to the store to buy fresh basil because you've got a little bottle of basil essential oil, right? 250 drops in one little bottle is going to last you 250 recipes if that's all you wanted to use it for. It can be difficult to find fresh ingredients throughout the year since some things are only available in certain seasons, and they can also be way more cost effective in the long run because it only takes a tiny amount of essential oil to add flavor to any dish, and so you can save money because you simply don't have to replace ingredients as often. And because the oils stay good for such a long time, you don't have to worry about fresh ingredients going bad, using them before their expiration date, all of that, right? Like one bottle of essential oils can last you 10 years, right? It's just awesome. They're super convenient. So let's talk about safety for a minute. And so while some people are skeptical about consuming essential oils, honestly, the practice has been around for centuries. It's not a new fad. Essential oils are already in your diet. If you're eating fruits and vegetables, you are eating essential oils because that's where they come from, right? And because essential oils are taken from plants and fruits and natural substances, the body is well equipped to process them. They're already a normal part of your diet, which makes it safe for the body to consume them and process them properly. But not all oils are safe. Okay, first of all, we want to be sure that they come from a good source, right? We want to know that they've been tested, that there is no presence of bacteria, mold, fungus, pesticides, herbicides, fillers, synthetic fragrances, okay? And so we're here tonight because doTERRA does all of that. They test all of their oils 57 different ways, and in both in-house and by a third-party laboratory. And you can even look up the batch number on the bottom of your bottle and view the chemical analysis for your batch of oil. There's a little picture here on this slide. Whenever you're looking at oils and you're thinking about your cooking, you can always tell if a doTERRA oil is safe to be ingested if it has that label on the bottle, okay? So you want to look for the supplement facts label, and then you know that it's not only safe for aromatic and topical use, but it's also recommended for internal use. And so you can use it in your cooking and not have to worry, okay? Notice how there are 250 drops in one 15 ml bottle. And in most recipes, it'll only call for 1 or 2 drops or even less because the flavor is so powerful. Okay, So let's talk about some best practices here, okay? Because how you use them, to be honest, is a lot of it is going to just depend on your own personal taste and what kind of food you're making, and which essential oils you're using. But by following a few guidelines, you can figure it out pretty quickly. And honestly, it's just fun to play. It really is fun to play. I've never been a recipe kind of person, okay? I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like measuring. And so I tend to just be kind of I dump things together when I cook. So I'm going to give you a couple of my examples before we get into some of the details. So like something that I've done for years is anytime I bake a cake or brownies, I'll add essential oils to the batter. So sometimes it's like a citrus oil, like wild orange, delicious in, brownies. So is peppermint oil. Um, I have had parties where I've had, like in the wintertime, I'll have a hot chocolate bar. And so it'll be, the hot chocolate, but then there'll be a selection of oils like cinnamon, cardamom, peppermint, spearmint, wild orange, and so on. And people can choose and mix their own, right? And they'll just put a drop in of whatever they want into their hot chocolate mug. Um, Another thing that I like to do is anytime I am making a salad, I like to make my own salad dressing. And so I'll use, maybe a drop of cilantro and a drop of lemon. Same thing for when I make chip dips and like vegetable dips. I'll just, whatever herbal oils sound good to me, whether it's a bit of dill, a bit of marjoram, maybe a drop of rosemary. Actually, at the moment, I have ham and bean soup sitting on the stove, and I put 2 drops of rosemary in that. Um, let's see, there's something else that I wanted to tell you too. So easy. Uh, when I make a salmon, I'll mix up olive oil with like maybe 5 or 6 drops of lemon oil in it, and then I'll baste it with that. And then I'll, put like some sea salt and ground black pepper on top. And that's the only thing that I flavor the salmon with. Oh, another thing that I like to do is I'll get sea salt and I'll make my own flavored sea salts. So, because I have been very suspicious of store-bought spices for a long time. A lot of them contain a lot of fillers, silica, which is basically ground up glass, um, tiny little pieces of wood to extend the spice. So I just don't. So what I do is I'll get sea salt and I'll put it in a bowl, and then I'll make my mixtures. So kind of similar to what they came up with the blends, like the Italian blend, the Mexican blend. I was doing that long before doTERRA did that for us. So I had my own Italian salt. So it had oregano, basil. What else did I put in there? Black pepper, and I can't remember what all, but I just mixed it into the sea salt and I just kept it in a jar. And that was what I would use for my all-purpose Italian seasoning. And then I had another one that I made for French cuisine. So it had some rosemary and some marjoram, and I just played with it. It was different every time I made it, but I would put in, and so I have those jars in my pantry. So whenever I need to, you know, um, use them, they're just ready made, and I keep them in glass jars. One for Asian cooking with ginger and coriander and lemongrass and lemon. Anyway, so those are just some ideas on things that I just kind of throw together. But we're going to talk about cooking with heat. We're going to talk about ideal cookware and what to avoid. We're also going to talk about measurements, and we have what's called the toothpick method, okay? So when we're cooking, it's important to know that high heat damages and actually makes the essential oils evaporate. So when you when you add your oils to something and then you're going to be cooking it, ideally, if you add the essential oil at the end of the recipe or right before, after the dish has had time to cook, it'll be, the flavor will be more flavorful. The less time the essential oil is exposed to heat, the more flavor it'll retain. But you know, sometimes it's not always possible to do that, like especially if you're baking. So if it's going to be exposed to high heat for an extended period of time, you just have to add more drops. Okay, just know that. Simply add a larger amount of the oil. And then as far as cookware goes, you want to use either stainless steel or ceramic or glass, because essential oil can damage certain types of plastic. So you want to avoid plastic mixing bowls, containers, even plastic spoons. Just opt instead for, you know, metal and glass, and then you don't have anything to worry about. And then as far as measurements go, the amount really depends on which kind of oil that you're using and what your preferences are. And it'd be nice to know the exact amount of essential oil, but like Gail said, there really is no science to it. It's really a matter of personal taste and personal preference. So it's about trial and error and experimentation. You might need a little practice before you have a good idea of how much to add to specific recipes. When people ask me, for example, about my ham and bean soup, I really don't even know. I just kind of will hold the bottle over and I'll count to 3. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You can taste it. It tastes amazing. The other thing that you can do is you can use the toothpick method. And it takes so when you're using an oil that is particularly potent, some examples of extra potent oils would be cumin, oregano, thyme, cinnamon, cassia, clove. So what you can do is you can take a clean toothpick and you can dip that into the bottle of oil and then swirl it into your dish. Okay, and then you can taste it and see what you think. And if you want to add more, then you get another clean toothpick and do it again. Okay, and then you'll start to get an idea of, and that way you're getting less than a drop. Okay, by swirling with the toothpick. Yeah, I was trying to think of something else. Another thing that I would recommend too is if you're going to drop the oils, rather than dropping the oils directly into the dish, sometimes it's hard to control how many drops come out, and you can accidentally put more in than you wanted to. So just hold a spoon under it, and then you can count the drops. And if you get too much, you can, you know, wipe a little bit off, right? And then pour the spoon in, or you can start over, you know what I mean? Rather, because once you've dropped it in, it's kind of over, right? Like you can always add more, but you can't really take away any. So those are some tips for you. Let's take a look at the types of oils that you can use in your cooking. Okay, so we've got citruses, spices, mints, herbs, and florals. All right, so citrus oils add a sweet, refreshing flavor to drinks like tea, water, smoothies. I've used them in alcoholic drinks like cocktails and like sangria. Citrus oils can be used in muffins and cookies, any kind of baked goods. They add flavor to yogurt, your favorite dips and salsa recipes. If a recipe calls for an entire fruit's zest, you'll likely need a few drops of citrus oil to match the amount of flavor. Just remember that citrus oils are taken from the peel of the fruit, not the juice. So you can easily substitute citrus oils for recipes that call for fruit zest, right? Or if you want the fruity flavor, right? But not necessarily for ones that call for fruit juice. Now, what I have been known to do, if a recipe calls for fruit juice, I will add the fruit juice, but then I will throw in a few drops of the citrus oil as well, just to boost the flavor, to make it pop even more. For spices, spicy oils create an extra boost of flavor for your dishes. Oils like black pepper and ginger, enhance flavors when cooking. Fennel and coriander add flavor to both sweet and savory recipes. Cinnamon and cassia are strong and spicy, and they make great additions for sweet recipes, for baked goods or breakfast foods. Keep in mind that all the spicy oils are extremely potent, so you only need a tiny bit of oil to add powerful flavor. Okay, so for spices, always start with the toothpick method, so that you can always add more, right, as you go, but start with the toothpick method with the spices. With the herbs, not only do essential oils come in handy when you don't have access to fresh herbs or dry seasoning, but they just deliver serious flavor. So you can use herbal oils as a substitute for any dry or fresh herbs in a recipe. Italian dishes, soups, bread, pastas, potatoes, meat marinades. You can use several of them in one dish. You can combine them. And again, they're just super potent, so less is more. And and then kind of taste it as you go. Florals, are usually more commonly used in beauty products and fragrances and less often in cooking, but they can add an unexpected twist of flavor to light desserts like cookies, cakes, jellies, and tea. Lavender, geranium, rose, they can be wonderful. But again, I would recommend the toothpick method for those. And then mints are a fantastic flavor, right? And they can be extremely useful when making mint flavored desserts, candies, beverages, anytime you want to add like a cool, refreshing element to your recipe. A lot of recipes that include lamb or chicken will often use mint flavoring to complement the flavors of the meat. But again, if you're going to be, I would say use the toothpick method for that, unless you're baking it. And then you would use several drops, right? So like when I make peppermint brownies or peppermint, like I have a sugar cookie recipe that I'll add peppermint oil to. And I've been known to add as many as 5 drops to, to the batter before baking it. But if I'm using peppermint in something that I'm going to be consuming immediately and I'm adding it at the end of, after it's already done, then I would only add like 1 drop. Okay. So you kind of start to get an idea there. And I have some little recipes to share with you here. One of the, I keep certain oils in my kitchen all the time. And that's always my advice to people is keep your oils around your house where you're going to use them. So like lemon, wild orange, grapefruit, rosemary, turmeric, black pepper, cardamom, those all live in my kitchen. And so anytime I make like a glass of water, I'll add a few drops of a citrus oil, or I'll add spearmint. If you're making a tea, you can add essential oils to your tea. And so I've got some examples here. If you're trying to wean yourself off of drinking sodas, essential oils can be so helpful with that. My advice is if you like that fizzy part of the soda, which I do, get yourself some plain sparkling water. And then you can actually add essential oils directly to the can. Okay, so if we're going to be drinking essential oils in our water or in our drink, we always either want to use a metal or a glass container, never a plastic water bottle or a plastic cup. Okay. And notice here in my Yeti, I have a straw that's metal because again, a plastic straw would be problematic because what's going to happen is the essential oils are going to leach the chemicals out of the plastic, and then you're drinking toxins, right? You may be wondering what this little white thing is. I cut a hole in a water bottle top because my straw was going down inside, and it was actually the silicone was touching the water and it was starting to discolor. So I put this on top so the silicone stays out of the water. One of my favorite things to do if I have a cough, is to make a cup of tea, hot tea, and I'll add some lemon and maybe 6 drops of lemon oil. I know that sounds like a lot, but it gets rid of mucus when you drink that much at one time. So I'll put in like 6 drops of lemon oil and maybe a tablespoon or 2 of honey, and then 1 drop of cardamom. And cardamom will stop that cough in its tracks. It's one of the most soothing things that I have found when I have a bad cough. Okay, I've got some other recipes here. Like, here's a recipe for a ginger pear green smoothie. This is one of my favorite things to make in the summer, where you make a raspberry limeade. So you make a raspberry puree first, and then you know, mix it in with your with juice of a lime and some sparkling water and lime oil. It's so good. It's very festive. Oops. Great for a summer party. You could make it in a big batch too and put it in like one of those big dispensers. Here's an example of a recipe for herb, like rosemary bread and blueberry orange muffins. If you don't want to follow a recipe like me, you know, you get yourself some muffin mix and then you just add some wild orange to the mix, right? But a lot of you are probably better at baking than I am, and you'd probably prefer to go from scratch. This is a delicious pineapple nectarine salsa with lime and cilantro oil. And this here is a picture of rosemary lemon hummus. But also, I highly recommend putting a drop of wild orange and a drop of cilantro oil into your guacamole if you like making guacamole. When you're making salads, you can, you know, combine, you know, olive oil and vinegar, maybe a little bit of Dijon mustard, and maybe some essential oils. Like in this one, it's basil and a dash of Himalayan salt. You can experiment with different oils in your salad dressings. Marinades. I always marinate my meat, especially if it's going on the barbecue. You know, if it's going outside on the grill, it's going to get marinated. Just this weekend was my husband's birthday, and we made, he had burgers out on the grill, but we also made chicken legs and drumsticks. And so I took soy sauce, ginger, wild orange, honey, and lime oil and mixed it all together, and that was the marinade. And so they just sat in there overnight, and then the next day when he put it all on the grill, it was just to die for. So here's some other examples of marinade recipes here. Chili lime marinade, sweet and sour marinade with wild orange, a balsamic rosemary marinade, and parsley basil marinade. And then, just like I was talking about earlier in the class, how you can take salt and you can make your own seasonings. You just kind of mash the oils into some salt with a spoon, and then you can just keep it in a glass jar to use whenever you want. You can do the same thing with sugars. So if you like to put sugar around the rim of a drink, or maybe you want to sprinkle sugar on top of some cookies, you can add essential oils to your sugars. And we've got a vanilla essential oil that is absolutely amazing. I know I'm talking a lot about citrus oils, but the vanilla is delicious too. And here's an Asian seasoning blend: sea salt with ginger, lemongrass, wild orange, black pepper. Anyway, the possibilities are endless. Are you starting to get that idea? So if you've got a doTERRA account already, what's super cool is I took a screenshot here of 4 different recipe books that are free that you can just download. Okay, so what you would do is you log into your doTERRA account, scroll all the way to the bottom till you see this at the very bottom of the page, and you see where it says ebooks. You'll just click on that, and then you'll see all the different ebooks that doTERRA has for you. And these 4, Cooking with Essential Oils, Cuisine Blends, Nutrition Line, and the Dessert Cookbook, all 4 of those are available for you. Okay, so you can just grab those. And for anybody who's watching tonight or watching the recording, I want you to know that if you don't have a doTERRA membership, talk to the person who shared this video with you or who invited you here tonight. Because if you go on Amazon and you buy doTERRA, you're probably getting something that's been adulterated, because what people will do is they will get empty doTERRA bottles and they'll fill them with something that's not a doTERRA oil, and then they'll recap with new caps. If you go straight to the doTERRA website, you're going to be paying retail for whatever you buy. But if you contact the person that you know already has a doTERRA membership, they can give you a link that will automatically give you a 25% wholesale discount. Okay, so membership is free. I pay $175 a year for Amazon membership. I pay, I think, $100 for Costco membership. doTERRA membership is free, and then you're getting 25% off retail with any purchase. So you can get started really easily. Just ask them for a shopping cart link. Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording here, and then I would love to hear any